Call this meeting to order. Stuart City Council tentative agenda Tuesday, September 21st, 2021, 6:30 p.m. Council chambers. Call to order. Belden. Here. Renslow.
Here.
Kava.
Here.
Glass.
Here.
Askren.
Here.
Agenda approval. Consent agenda approval of minutes 8/9/2021 special meetings of 8/16/2021 and 8/30/2021. Approval of financial statements as of 8/31/2020. Approval of bills as presented. Approval of liquor license Johnny's Tap. Approval of liquor license Stuart Fremont Theater. Need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Renslow.
So are we moving anything on the agenda or
Well,
tabling anything?
gonna move EMT to the end, what he's in Des Moines, and then we're gonna table Carl Chevrolet.
Okay. Assume that your motion would entail the.
Oh, sorry, yes, and, I talked to Tony Mills today. He was unaware of the issue concerning what's going on between the engineers. And so he said that he would take care of it and then follow back up with Forrest and with Pat Howie to make sure that all those concerns are being taken care of.
And that's for the Carl's part.
Yes.
Okay. So I would.
Seconds. Okay, so how do you vote? Belden?
Yeah.
Renslow?
Yes.
Kava?
Yes.
Glass? Askren? Okay, we got a lot of items today, so let's try to move in a timely manner. 4, traffic concerns. Bob Olson, you want to come up to the microphone?
First of all, I'd like to thank the council for letting me bring my concern to you. I'm not concerns to the city if I can handle them myself. I'd like to give you some examples of that. I have a storm drain on my corner, which continually gets filled. I clean it out myself 5 or 6 times a year. Okay? There's another storm drain on the back of my lot, which is not on my property, which also gets filled. And I've done so much with digging out with a shovel and things like that to get that drained home for the city. Next, Front Street. 2 years ago, I took out 2 wheelbarrows full of dirt and sand out of the curbing area. This year, I took out 2 big flat shovels out of that area. And because the street has changed and been raised because of the extra asphalt, it's caused a flow into my yard and it settles in my driveway. I took out 2 flat shovels full there. Okay? Next, that back main drain that I was talking about 2 years ago, raccoons moved in. In 4 days, I trapped 7 raccoons out of that backyard area. Last year, I didn't have a problem. This year, again, there was 2 raccoons that had moved into that. I again borrowed somebody's trap, set it for 4 days. So you can see that I don't bring problems to you that I can solve myself. The one I'm bringing to you today is what I consider the speeding on this from North 2nd Street from the Methodist Church to the west. There's a 5 block area there. I mentioned this problem to a policeman, city policeman, 3 months ago. I gave him a possible solution would maybe be, and I told him that the worst time seems to be from about 5:15 to about 6:30 in the evening. I suggested that maybe he could park around the corner there and maybe give some warning tickets and stop. I mentioned to the mayor at the city cleanup that this was the problem. Okay? My concerns are, this is a street which is heavily used by walkers, bikers, skateboarders, joggers, and there are a limited number of sidewalks on this street. So a lot of them are using that street. Also, people must, on this area must back out of their driveways to get on the street. I've had occasions where luckily I'm stopped just in time of someone come flying down that street. Another thing, I think the lay of the land also contributes to the speeding there. From the Methodist church, the first block slopes pretty heavily. Then it flattens out for a block, and then the next 2 blocks going up is a big incline. So they both, I think, are in kind of encouraging the speeding that happens on this street. Another thing I guess I would like to mention to you is on the east end of 2nd Street, from the middle school out to the Catholic Church, there are 3 stop signs on that street. And it's a street where there's limited amount of housing. In fact, the vet clinic faces that backside there, and also the old sale barn is in that area. So there's little area there, but yet they have 3 stop signs on that street. I guess my solution to the problem would be to put 1 stop sign 2 blocks down from the Methodist church, and that might be a good solution to the problem.
Is that on Exposition? At Exposition?
Yes.
I believe so. So that's my concerns right now.
When we put that stop sign in by the Methodist church, wasn't that just temporary when they were doing road repairs or something? And we left it?
We put it in because it was temporary, but it was working so well when we changed, see, that used to be just a 2-way stop and we made it a 4-way.
Right.
But it seemed to work well, so we left it there.
So what, is it better to add another one in Exposition, make that a 3-way stop, or is it better to move the 4-way at Methodist church west down?
No, I would rather leave the 4-way at
The
Methodist church
4-way
there.
has worked wonders.
And then just
right
add,
there.
the other one?
I don't know that that's, you can put all the signs up you want, but like I said before,
If you don't have enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I mean, I think.
Another thing I would mention to you is on that north part of, or the west part of North 2nd Street, all those streets coming into it dead end there.
Mhm.
So that's naturally an encouragement for someone speeding down that street because they have nothing to worry about, people pulling out on them. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at with this.
So can we refer this to Jim and Dave to
Dave, yeah.
bring back a recommendation for
Yeah.
the October meeting? Is that all right? And talk with you as well?
Yes.
Well, I mean, to me, that a 3-way stop there would make sense. I mean, based on how everything is treated east of the high school.
Yeah, I think it would be a solution to that problem. I mean, like I said, I'm not talking about, the only time I really notice it is at, from about 5:15 to 6:30, because I come up, we have a 4-level house, and I'm in the recreation room, which is down a level. So I'm not in my living room area where I look out on that street. But when I'm looking out there, I'm not talking about 1 or 2. I'm quite often saying there's 4, at least, flying down that street, one way or the other.
So when we had the issue with the traffic on Adair Street from the races going so fast through there, didn't we ask our police to have a presence out there at that time? Why couldn't we do that here also? Because you seem to have, I know it's not
During that time.
just during that, it's happened any other time, but as you notice it more at that time is maybe have them in the area a little bit, because if we're not seeing enforcement, it's not gonna stop either, so.
Jim's got something to say.
Yeah, Jim.
part of the reason you mentioned the stop signs going east on 2nd Street is because that street has more foot traffic on it than any street in town. That's why there are so many stop signs.
And probably 4 ways as well. There's more
Exactly,
versus dead end.
exactly. And due to the school kids and the foot traffic down that street.
So
I don't think that end could have any more traffic than what I'm seeing in front of my house.
So
Refer.
So we
Yeah,
can
Dave.
Dave and Jim can come up with something for next week.
Okay, we'll go
Our
ahead
next
and
meeting.
refer it to police chief and public works director. And
The issues.
we'll have them contact you if they need it. Okay, and then we'll bring it up the next council.
It'll be on the agenda for the October meeting. So
Okay.
plan on coming back to that meeting, so you're not wondering, like you said, you brought it up 3 months ago, nothing's happened, so you brought it up now, and it needs to be on the meeting for
Right.
next
You can kind
agenda.
of let us know what you found out, you know, that way, along with the.
So what are your plans right now as far as,
Dave, the police chief, and Jim will like look at the intersections and figure out, maybe they don't want to put a stop sign there, if they want to put it a block up, I don't know, I mean, whatever they come up with.
Well,
Dick, can you
I
also
think-
talk to Chief Rehan, ask him to patrol?
Exactly.
Or maybe increase a little bit of patrol.
Just like we did on Adair Street.
I just hope there's one somewhere along that area.
So then they can come back at the next meeting, I'll have a chance to look at the traffic and come back with a recommendation, so.
Okay.
I'll leave that up to you, as you're gonna make the decision.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, 5, utility superintendent, Pat Howie.
I think everybody knows me, but if not, like I said, I am the utility superintendent. And I'm gonna try and keep it short here. I think you all have a piece of paper like this, a little map in your packet. And what we're asking the council to do for us is we're gonna build another water tower because we need more storage. And we're wanting to build it right over here by these buildings. And, on South Fremont there, that is still considered right of way. And the tower would extend a little bit into the right of way. And for the purposes of our USDA financing and everything, they would like to see that right of way go away and just have it vacated. And hopefully that would speed up the process a little bit. And, right now, this property that is kind of squared out and circled there on that map, our pole piles there, we got some other junk there. I mean, we're using it now. In a way, it's not being used as a street, it's just grass and mud there is basically what it is. So if the council would consider vacating that little parcel, I think it's parcel A, their part on ground, that would make life a little easier for us. It's been hard to find a place in town, a good place that's affordable to put another water tower.
What's your timeline, Pat?
Timeline,
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Because-
We've been waiting on this financing
Yeah.
for probably a year and a half.
By right, something like this should go through the P and Z.
Good point.
And that's the reason we have those people,
Can we refer this back to P and Z and then,
have them October meeting.
That's a great point.
Will that
Then
work?
you want me to come back in October?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah, so make sure you get hold of P and Z so they can set up a meeting.
and then the process after P and Z and we get it back, we just refer it to an attorney.
'Cause we've
It's a
run
Well,
notification
The
process.
legal fees need to be incurred by the utilities, this isn't our expense.
Correct.
But we've had this happen before, Pat, where the council's trying to make a decision with P and Z, that's what the board's for.
All right, we can do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
any associated expenses would not be incurred by.
Okay, 6, we're gonna wait on. 7, light pole maintenance project.
Okay,
You want me to-
yeah, go ahead.
So we've been working on this for quite some time. And we've been kind of back and forth. Forrest has been working on this. Forrest has got us 2 options. Jim I don't know if you want to say anything, but I've been working with Jim and his recommendation so far has been with the slurry mix, which is the lesser of the 2. And we were able to get the bid to the Guthrie County Supervisors, but not in time for their meeting last week. They met this morning and they have decided to give us $30,000 if we go with the slurry option.
I just have a question. Who was on that committee for the roads?
Well, there was a group of us.
Yeah, and I wasn't included on any of that discussion before anything went up to the.
Steve Brick has been the point of this, and I have been discussing with Steve, and Forrest has been the point. The bids were given to the supervisors by Forrest.
Okay.
So
I guess the
I'm
point
just
is
saying,
that.
I listened to the meeting this morning, and
Okay, well,
know
that's,
that they gave 30.
that's great, but everybody on that committee should have been informed, on that, just having those
Well,
emails
you
come
have-
across.
I haven't had any emails except for the ones that you've been included on with Forrest, with the slurry bin. I asked Forrest on that email to make sure that the supervisors got it. You were on the email, he said he got it to the supervisors.
Okay.
So
'cause
there's
I
been no
never-
email communication outside of that.
I know I didn't talk with Jim about his preference on anything.
Well, I took that upon myself to reach out to him. So,
Forrest actually made point of contact with me for my preference.
Okay. I just like to be included on that stuff. I'm not, don't.
I haven't been included for the whole project, Mike.
Well, yeah, and you should be, I agree.
so I guess it would be my motion at this time to move forward with the slurry mix at 117 and ask Forrest to reach out for drainage proposals so we can work through those. And that we, at this time, turn down the truck resolutions of the turning restrictions, turn those down because everybody came to the table like we had wanted in the first place.
Can we add a few things to that?
Sure.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask, maybe your question deals with this. If we do this, how long are we projecting this to last?
I was told
Anybody?
around 2 years.
2 years?
It's
And
gonna
at
be
the end of
roughly-
that, I'm sorry?
It's gonna be roughly the same as your asphalt mix. The concern I have with the asphalt mix, if you wanna know the honest truth, is the way this is wheel tracked, asphalt is normally rolled with a roller.
Right.
Get a roller in that wheel track, so their solution is to roll it with a rubber tired roller.
Right.
I'm not comfortable with that, or the slurry mix doesn't have to be compacted like asphalt. Yeah,
And so-
Because I talked to Forrest too, and he was estimating like up to a 4-year, for the asphalt mix instead of 2.
that
So-
would be a stretch. But that would be
Whatever,
very stretch.
okay, he went 2, 4, whatever, right? But at the end of 2 years, where are we gonna be at? What are
Well,
we
we're
gonna do?
continuing to work on our
Well, that's-
long-term plan,
That's
like,
what, I
yeah.
want to get all that
So-
in this motion.
So you,
Okay, so,
so as you know, we're still working on the long-term plan, as we have a meeting coming up in November as a committee. You were at that meeting, we decided to come back in November. Guthrie County is still working on their policy, correct, Mark, or Mike?
Yeah, but we're, I guess what we talked about today was you got, if you do the slurry here, then we are bonding here probably, you got 3 years, so within 3 years of probably December, we want to, help with redoing this road.
The long-term, what we
The
can
long-term,
consider
right.
the long-term fix.
So, I think it's prudent to keep going with the committee and try to get grants or whatever to help with that.
And Brick is still working on a 28E with everybody and we're still working on all that. So the long-term fix is still in the works. But this is,
right, I'm just wanting to know where we're gonna be at the end of the 2 years, what are we looking at doing, is
So,
all,
so can we put some things in writing to try to do that? I guess, accept the slurry option, bid for 120,000, with Guthrie County's contribution, decline the turning lanes, adopt a 2080 agreement with Guthrie County, which is what you're talking about.
but it needs to be with Guthrie, Adair.
Well, whatever. I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot of parties involved, so.
Guthrie, Adair. Decline turn lanes, adopt 2080 with Guthrie, Adair County on long-term permanent repair that takes place in estimated 2 years, 50/50 cost share policy based on concurrent jurisdiction and discontinue ag business park at this time.
And we need to add the drainage.
Okay. And
Started.
Jim Forrest will finalize drainage.
That will probably be bid locally.
And did we have any idea when this is gonna be started?
I would like to see this done yet this fall,
Well, yeah, I would too, that's what I'm saying, I know,
and I'm not sure where of it either as to where they're at in schedule.
the last time I heard we could still get that asphalt part done if we okayed it at the 13th,
Correct.
the prior meeting. But so hopefully this won't
Normally
delay.
they won't, at this late in the game, they won't bid it if they don't have time to do it.
Okay,
It's about how it
makes
boils
sense.
down.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Forrest can contact them tomorrow and let
Correct.
them know that we've okayed this yesterday.
Did I run through this again?
Please.
Okay. So we accept the slurry option, accept the bid for the slurry at an estimated 120. I know it's less than that, but I said estimate. Guthrie County, with Guthrie County contribution,
Do we have Adair's contribution?
30, yeah, 30K, Adair 50. And then decline turning lanes at this time, adopted 2080 with Guthrie and Adair County on long-term permanent repair. It takes place in about 2 years. If it's 50/50 cost share policy based on the concurrent jurisdiction. Discontinue the agribusiness park. Jim Forrest finalized drainage repairs. And the notification to, land is, yeah. Or what, for, filling the ditch?
Creating a ditch. Part of that was Forrest's idea, was to recreate the ditch, put it that way, recreate.
And then there's no tax increase for these repairs,
Okay.
because the city's estimated out of cost expense,
Would be 90, correct? Or
well, it's not drainage. Out of pocket. Expense is what? 100, we'll just put 150, because with drainage on 150K more or less. Is that okay?
Yep.
I'm gonna close this.
The discontinuing of the ag business.
Because we were trying to look at, like Growmark, if we would have had an agribusiness park that, some other folks had presented before, we could have maybe had them further out of town, so we wouldn't, would have had other options. Mike, there's a grain elevator company that owns land someplace off of Highway 6, right? You know what I'm talking about?
The company out of Creston.
Yeah.
What's it, is that?
So that would have been an agribusiness park type of thing. If the city would have annexed that, your marketability, that's all. But like I said,
So we're just discontinuing it.
we've had this
It doesn't
committee
mean that
since
we can't
March.
go
It's
back
time,
and-
we're trying to pull this together and,
I just didn't know if the council was aware that we had a business that was interested in going on this park area, so.
yeah, what we already have is, we looked at trying to expand that for
future growth type stuff.
Okay.
the knife in it sooner or later.
Have a motion,
All right.
He made that motion, I'll second it.
Vince
second,
made the motion, who second?
I'll say.
second.
Right.
Okay,
Unless there's anybody else wants to add anything to it.
any more?
No, I think-
So there should be no additional legal costs associated with this, correct? Or any other expenses?
Not until we get the term fixed down the road and we get everything figured
Okay.
out.
So should that be added to that? So there's no
It'll-
lingering,
I'm sure.
I'm
That's
asking.
gonna be steep, right?
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying, so there shouldn't be any further. I'm just-
There will be some, he's working on.
For the 20.
For the
Just
20.
wanted to work on it.
Yeah,
So
No,
anyway.
I think we're okay.
Okay.
Okay, so how do you vote? Belvin?
Yeah.
Renslow?
Yes.
Kavah?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
Askren? Okay,
I'd like to say thank you. for
Yeah,
working so hard
absolutely.
with us.
Thank
It's
you.
very much appreciated.
Any deal, that's
And
a-
Andy,
Exactly.
that's a big deal.
and I'm sorry, I forget your name.
Man,
Matt.
we really appreciate all the hard work that all of you have gone through to get to this and that the county has. The county's a great partner for us and we appreciate it a lot.
Thank you for
We'll see you in
committee
November
work.
for our next meeting.
Thank you,
Yes, I'll see you in November.
thank you.
8 Carl Chevrolet we're tabling. 9,
Okay, Josh, you be on the phone, everybody from the company. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
No, Matt, it's
Right,
this
thank
one
you.
clear out here.
so we have urban renewal, resolution number 2124C. Setting the date would be October 11th. Need a motion to set the date? Okay,
Well, I mean, let's just, we can just do this and bring it up. Go ahead, sorry.
Just need a motion.
Okay.
setting the
Set a
date.
date, setting the
October.
date.
Okay.
Moved by
I'll
Cobble.
move.
Moved by Cobal. Second by Belvin. How do you vote? Belvin?
Yeah.
Renzo? Cobal?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
Askren?
Yes.
Now you want discussion?
Well, the Stuart Herald's come into this at the, this tip certification is so timely, it's, you don't have a lot of flexibility with it. It is what it is, it's November and that's it. And so, and it's very regimented on how you follow the process in order to qualify and to get all the development agreements done, all that garbage. And so they've come in a little bit too late because the notification's gone out, is that right?
Yeah.
So maybe it goes to you two, that maybe you get some sort, and Ash, that you guys get some sort of schedule. Maybe you do this, like the hotel motel tax committee
We're
meets once or
talking for
twice.
next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
But I mean,
think-
as you do this down the road,
Yeah.
it takes the guessing out. It's gotten chewed out for only meeting once or twice a year, but it works. Because then they have more money to allocate and then they have better timing, everybody knows the process, so anyway.
Okay. 10, resolution number 2125C, we're gonna set a date for this, for a public hearing too, it'll be October 11th.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Renzo, second by
Second.
Cobal.
Can we add to that motion that there will be no tax increase for this bond?
The language.
No, I know, but just so that's in the motion.
No
There is
tax.
no tax for funds and the franchise tax. Actually,
Okay.
in the motion.
Jim, you have a question?
I do.
Yeah.
It'll be finalized in October. Is there any reason to start placing orders now? There will be no financial obligation until stuff arrives.
Yeah, go ahead.
All
And
right.
they can't order,
They're weeks out.
Chip is basically got to tell us when we're gonna get that gas tax, or that franchise fee, or sales tax, whatever it is, because he and I worked on what's called a sales tax tip district, remember, and it was going to produce 80 grand a year or something, it produced like 50. So this forecast for the gas
Gas franchise.
franchise tax is estimated to be 20 grand, which pays the rescue unit payment, so we don't have to raise taxes. So Chip needs to make sure that that's modeled correctly, and he's not here tonight, so they can't order the rescue unit yet, but your deal is already, you have money to pay.
Okay. Because I mean, we're out, some things we're out 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, you have no issue with that.
Yeah, kind of. Don't order tomorrow.
We can discuss it in the
Next
morning.
week, I will talk.
Discuss it in the morning.
Okay, so.
Your situation is different than rescue unit, is all I'm trying to say.
We had a motion and a second, so how do you vote? Belvin?
Yes,
Renzo?
Yes.
Cobal?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
Askren?
so
That's good news.
is it in the minutes, this is paid for by
Sorry.
franchise fee,
I'll do.
okay, or road use money and sewer, thank you.
Okay, resolution number 2123C, road use report.
The Daniel report to submit to the state for the road report.
Moved by Belvin,
Second.
second by Renzo. How do you vote? Belvin?
Yep.
Renzo?
Yes.
Cobal?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
Askren?
No.
Okay, hotel motel tax committee recommendation. Everybody has their sheet in front of them.
Any questions about the recommendation?
Yeah, so. Just a question. We did that deal for the cultural center. So is this for supplies then?
It looks like it's an acoustic panel,
Because it echoes so bad in there maybe?
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So out of curiosity, when were these applications due? Because I got a phone call today saying that the gentleman from the racetrack has been trying to get a hold of them because he would like to apply for funds and nobody has called him back.
Call to city hall or call?
I don't know. I asked him just to call Matt.
It's good.
And-
Ask for it.
Figure it out.
That's a new committee.
He has reached out to Cheryl Marks and Jeff Schwarzkopf and has had no answer, is what I was told.
That's what the committee, the
I don't know,
building.
I'm asking because I got the call today and I said, just contact Matt here at City Hall and go from there, but I mean, I don't think it's gonna be any good for this year, but
Usually we will get the phone calls.
well, he hasn't reached out to City Hall directly. He's reached out to those other two individuals and
And we will direct them to those two.
do the same.
So
Yeah.
he's called them and they just
Don't know.
okay. Well, these guys all
This is
managed to
secondhand
apply.
information. I
Yeah.
just said, please call Matt at City Hall.
I'll be in writing.
These guys all managed to apply, so I don't know.
I don't
So Matt, did he call you?
No, this was just today that he reached out to me, so.
How often, you said they meet once or twice a year? Do we know
Once a year,
when?
they do it once a year.
Once a year?
I think this time of the year.
So it's not like a set date or they do it in the
Time of
same
year.
month, or something, so.
Kinda, they used to do it for everyone to be, but now they start to do it just.
Sure.
Do we know what the application deadline is?
I think the deadline is April 15th, I want to say.
Maybe that's something we should just put in minutes or.
That's what I was gonna say, they need to
Board
put,
thing out there.
maybe put something on the website or
Yeah,
do something so it's more accessible,
Yeah.
instead of trying to hunt people down, on that.
asking for advertising.
And maybe we can look at, maybe, can they put some forms? I mean, I know like our cemetery forms are on there. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe can they put the hotel motel application on the website?
Yeah.
Under-
Yeah,
Something to look at.
okay, we'll do that.
Somebody want to make a motion on this?
We need a motion to approve the recommendation, if it's okay with you.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Moved by Glass, second by Belvin. How do you vote? Belvin? Renslow?
Yes.
Kaba?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
Askren?
And so just a reminder that this goes on the ballot to go from 5 to 7, to help us in the percent to this. So when you go vote, don't forget about that.
Okay, 13, financial responsibility. You can talk about this, Brian.
Yeah. This is just something that we do when we run through a bond, Ash. Chip and I work through this, Neil works through as well. And it's basically just looking at our tax rate relative to other communities and our reserves to make sure that we are in a good position before we do any type of bond issue. So it's looking at our impact of a bond issue and where we're gonna pay for it, make sure we don't raise taxes if we don't have to, and that type of thing. So I guess it's just meant to, I had Chip put this in writing so we can, make this be a policy. We did a good job getting taxes down to $15. We got over $1 million in reserves, and so I guess those are two simple numbers to kind of budget towards. So I guess I'll make a motion to adopt this as a policy, go forward.
Ash, is this something you've looked over
Yes,
and you're okay with that?
yes.
Second, okay, moved by Belvin, second by Kaba. How do you vote? Kaba?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
And this is subject to change,
Right.
Right.
because that stuff can be.
It just gives you a.
That's a guideline.
Yeah,
so,
guideline
Yeah.
on that, so.
Okay, 14, Blight property located at 113 Northeast Quinn property.
So when I asked for this to be on the agenda, it wasn't necessarily just related to this. So there's kind of two items here. One just blight property and the other one's a Quinn property. How do we want to talk about one first or what?
Yeah, can we separate
Sure.
them so we know what
So-
we're talking about?
So I guess I asked him to come tonight, but I guess, Mike's made significant headway with blighted properties in the community. And so I'd like to see the city put a program that's offered to the community that has stipulations in it to promote rehabilitation of dilapidated houses.
We already have a program for that?
No,
Kristen, I
we've
thought
got,
Kristen
that's,
set that
that's
up.
LMI, which is very
Okay.
painful. So I called John
Two
Danos
separate
on
things.
Friday. Yeah, we don't have to go through all that if we have a blight property. This would not apply to standard residential homes. This is if we have a condemned residential property, and not even condemned, just blighted. is there TIF assistance that can go towards that to help mitigate the cost issues to get that home back into use? So
we
When-
what I'm getting at is I wanted to work with Matt proposal to come back to the council with at the next meeting. Just figure if you talk to him for 5 minutes, he can walk through how this process works, and then we can take that and offer that to the community. It doesn't have to be done every year, but if you line up a TIF certification every year, you can offer that to the public and say, hey, go fix up,
And so there's not gonna be a set amount, like
Yeah, what I talked to John about,
X amount.
what was affordable was about 50,000 a year and up to 10% of the sale price. So if you buy a house for 50 grand, you sell it for 100, you could get up to 10,000 towards that
I
property.
just don't wanna see, I don't wanna see it being used up in one shot.
No, it wouldn't be.
On
No.
one person, I
Council,
mean,
council
just-
discretion, sure.
So
a wide community thing.
Yep.
right now you get the LMI money prior to doing anything, just.
Yeah,
Right. But what you're saying sounds like when you sell it, to meet all the stipulations
Right.
in there before you got, so we just don't have houses that are sitting there
And-
getting money and not doing anything.
And if you don't have a process in place and you get some person that doesn't fix something up according to code, or they don't fix something up in a time period or whatever, so that's why you put a process in place that Matt can,
Right.
So this would be, the expense would be on the homeowner.
on the developer, whoever's rehabilitating the property, yeah, all of it would be, except there'd be a TIF grant up to whatever the percentage is that we agree on.
But that would not be available to the person who's doing the,
It'd be available to the person who's doing the work.
when they're finished, when it's
When it
finished.
sells.
When it sells.
Yep,
Yeah, it's
So it
reimbursement.
can't be a personal property, it has to be something that's being fixed
that's a
up.
blight property, that's a one in every neighborhood that.
Yeah, I know, I got,
I think
Close
that
on,
was mine.
right, but it was LMI.
This is LMI.
This is not LMI, this is blight. And so what we used to do is we went in and we granted people money to tear them down. Well, he's going into these same homes, fixing them up, taking a value to the city's assessment at 25,000, it's now at 150. So it's much better. Money, actually less per house to fix them up, promote growth that way than it is
And
everything.
we could get twice as many
Right.
homes.
Right.
if we
But
had
it's on the
light
back
plus
end,
the LMI.
So that way houses aren't just sitting.
The reason I'm saying that, in December, I'm gonna certify for LMI,
Yes.
so that will be available, and I think.
But L-
will be-
But you
But
shouldn't be
LMI is
able
too
to
painful to deal with.
and do both. I
No,
don't
the
want
same
to
person
see,
can't do it.
yeah, I don't wanna see someone get LMI money at the beginning and then get this tip
I'm
at the end.
That's why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
that They would be too shabby.
It's gonna be one or the other, you can't do
I'm
both.
simply making the comment that LMI is very, very difficult. And if we can get our bonding attorney to tell us how to do it, the same thing,
No, I-
without calling it
Yeah.
LMI, we
I
should do it.
just
You
completely,
hate LMI too.
I completely
It's so
agree.
difficult.
I
Well, it's
just-
so hard.
I just don't want the
But-
process of the LMI and then, so you get that at the beginning and
No.
then you get the same at the end.
No,
It's like-
that's
Is this, is
These are
this,
separate.
Brian, is this something that would replace LMI at some point, or would we still have that available?
I'm not an attorney.
No,
I'm,
all,
I'm just, I, well, I know, but I didn't know
all
if
the
that
new
was your
homes
call.
out there, you got a certain percentage that goes to LMI.
Right. And
With
so that's,
40 new homes, you'll be a lot of money coming.
But what
in
I'm
the next few
asking
years.
is that when the LMI money does come up and the process that Kristen had put in place for that LMI money does come up and we do have money, I
This-
don't want to see them, somebody double up on both. It
this
needs to
should
be one
replace
or the other.
what Kristen did and all of that work and all of that effort. This should replace it.
So then we will have no more LMI.
No,
No,
that's
you
not the
will,
case.
no.
You have LMI
You
for
want
sidewalks, sewers,
But he's
road
just,
repairs.
yeah, but he's telling us we
You
will,
will, because I will certify for money.
but it will be used for other things,
But not
not
for
for
home,
that
correct.
purpose.
Okay,
The
so,
money for
No.
LMI will go to LMI.
Only if CHIP requires us to certify that way.
Well. I
Can we
think
get
will
clarification?
We'll work
certify.
on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see
Actually,
clarification.
I don't think LMI is worth throwing away.
No.
Yes, no,
Okay.
I'm.
Yeah, so I think you're,
Yeah,
I'm glad
it's
that
two
you're.
different issues.
and I don't think we're
We're
saying
not
we're
the
gonna
same
throw it away,
purpose,
we're
it's
just trying to
just-
figure out what the process is gonna be.
For someone,
right now.
Mike, was LMI easy or difficult to follow rules with?
It was completely, it was difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember, and
I
you
did.
never come back,
And
and
Kristen-
you constantly work with
Kristen-
Kristen and stuff like that.
Kristen worked on that forever.
Yeah,
And
she
we can
did.
do the same thing without.
Okay,
doing
so
it.
Matt,
I just have something to sound like we're gonna have two
options.
Yeah.
Now, LMI has a cap, correct? So can LMI be reserved for people that live on their homes, for homeowners, and then this new program designed for?
We have to work with the.
We'll just,
public.
I guess what I'd like to do is I'd like to go, I would like to put something together with Matt and Mike. Ash, if you want to be on the call too, or not, that's fine. With John, we could put some criteria together for the next meeting. That's housing. Now you say LMI, now we're talking about sidewalks.
My is difficult,
Separate.
but I will be certified for a certain amount of money, and it has to be going to LMI. Yeah, it's painful, but I've dealt with it for the last
No,
20 years,
yeah.
but I have no choice. So it's good for the council to know that it's two different issues, and we will be implementing it very soon here in December. I think I had Mike Johnson work with LMI. It's easy for me to deal with it. I will be transferring to Matt to deal with it too. Matt and I talked about it a lot. We're gonna have to just go deep into it. In 2020, so it's not really that I'm certifying
Yeah.
all the money.
And I think that's great, and I'm happy that you're doing that. I do think that it's worthwhile to think in terms of having a program, I don't know whether LMI is the program, but a program that provides help for homeowners.
Well, this,
Okay.
what he's
And that's
talking
what
about is
Ryan
not for
offering
homeowners.
us. So we're having two different issues.
Right.
Seems valuable to talk
See,
about.
that's a program that Region 12 offers. They offer, home and stuff. That's
This is not for homeowners.
That's not
Well, I'm saying that I think it would be good to have something for homeowners.
And that's not.
Because it's one thing for a developer to fix a house and flip it. It's another thing for a homeowner to have necessary repairs to make the house looking and livable, but
That's
you know,
a Region 12.
Yeah,
Region 12,
there
that's not
are
us.
certain programs for
That's
that,
not
Teresa.
us. That's
Yeah.
Region 12.
Because I have looked at some of those, and it's not through the city at all.
Yeah, those are, so if you're a homeowner and need assistance, that's through Region 12.
Right.
And so
They've
we're
helped
looking
them.
at, for developers.
They've helped a lot of
And we can apply for
People
grants.
right now.
Kristen
Yes, they
got
have.
grants from Region 12 for that exact same thing.
well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's-
I think that was
that's
a few
separate.
years ago, but that's, yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
if I could, the Region 12 is something that's been going on for quite some time. 308 Main Street that I did, they qualified for $25,000 worth of Region 12 money, which provided furnace, new air conditioner, roof, and several other things too. But that would be a completely different program than a blight or an LMI type of fund. What I would say about the LMI is it is it's almost like going through a root canal to try to get anything done.
He would say the same thing normally. No, he's not that.
Where we ran into a problem was down off that really bad property that you guys were gonna burn down. It was gonna be a controlled burn, we went and fixed it up, one of the oldest houses in town, and that was cattywampus from the cultural center. We went through LMI on that, had it sold right when we completed it. And the problem with LMI is we need to make sure that the tax matches up with that. So we need to see that there's a value of that. And really, in order to do a true LMI, you need to have the tax from the county to be able to do that. The problem is they only do that once a year. We can't wait a year and a half, 2 years to go ahead and sell the property. That happened on that house down there, and I said, well, we have it sold for $158,000. We bought it for $40,000. So you can obviously drive past and see that. So at that point, Kristen had to drive past and I had to kind of show her around the house, go through it that way. That's how we were able to proceed with the sale. And that worked okay, but there's a lot of paperwork involved in that. As far as multiple people coming up to address your question, Christina, is, I understand that, and I think you're referring back to when Matt and I ran Hoosier Hawk, and we did 3
No, I
properties. We did
Actually
3
referring to Ryan Morrison having
Okay.
development properties.
that's great. But those 3 properties there, we did receive all the LMI money, but we were the ones that came, and we were the only ones that came, and we had 3 properties going at the same time. We completed all 3 properties. We had 6 months to do each property. We completed all 3 of them.
My point there was just so that we have enough money for everybody, because
But
not
they have
only
to
are
apply.
you, right, and not only are you a developer, I know that Ryan's a developer. And I think there's one other company in town that has a few properties that have been developing. So
But there's
I want to make sure that it's open to
But there's
everybody.
stipulations on this.
And I
that-
understand that. I
Yeah.
was just
Yeah, I will.
asking that we make sure that there's enough.
It will, it
for
will.
all.
I'm just giving the heads up that there will be money available. We will certify in December. We will get the numbers known. And the process is gonna take long, as Mike said, because Mike worked with me on that process. The money we certify for, we'll receive it in 2023, so we'll have time to work on that difficulty. And Mike, we cannot get rid of the difficulties. It will be there.
Well,
But now we have time. We have more time to
So-
work with it.
So
In
this
your
process is
situation-
just something you're wanting to
So I'd like
work
to work
on.
with Matt and Mike on this and bring back a proposal for the council. next
Yeah.
year.
Because the one thing that I was concerned about moving forward with these properties that I had going on is that everybody be held to the same standard. This house down here off the Middle Street, I'm just gonna be honest with you, we spent $14,000 just on dumpsters, when I know there was 2 other people in town that was burning their materials behind their house. So we all have to be on the same playing field.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's very-
right, this time. Okay, now we don't want to shift from that fight,
No.
because we
Okay,
talked
so are
about,
we gonna move
No,
on
I-
to
I'm not,
Quinn?
yeah, I'm not ready yet. Don't worry.
yeah.
So on this Quinn property, I guess I'd like to refer this to Beverly and follow what we did with Dr. J's building.
Yeah, to proceed with the process of the sale of the property.
Right, but put some stipulations on it as well, that it needs to be rehabbed and occupied as a business within 6 months.
When?
Huh?
By when?
In 6 months.
On 6 months.
A certificate of occupancy from the zoning guy, so there's some verification that the work's done, reimbursement to the city for all incurred costs.
But this was gonna go to silent bid,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah, these are our conditions in the article with that. And then, I'd like to see a $50,000 assessment on the property.
Jim?
Yeah, in addition, I think I was just gonna mention, in addition to what that is, we need to make sure that we have direct Jim and Corey to get that place boarded up and get new locks on.
That was my question, is if it is in city ownership,
It
it
is.
needs to be secured.
Okay, it is.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Okay, so we have a motion to
Yeah,
refer.
But I want to make sure all these things are in.
Okay, we're gonna walk this through. We have a motion to refer that item to Beverly Wild with the,
Certificate of occupancy
Within 6
within
months.
6 months.
Assessment.
50K minimum assessments,
Yep.
reimbursement to the, and then they get 6 months to have a business in it. It needs to be occupied, rehabilitated, and active in 6 months.
cool,
So do you want,
I need a motion.
okay, but do you want those or do you have them?
We got
written
it.
down? Okay.
And so that will go into the paper, so we can have the bids opened at the next meeting.
No, next week, you're gonna set a date for a hearing, and you gotta just go through the legal process.
So we're probably looking November before we.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a
Me, who
motion,
made the motion?
Second.
Brian, and second by Mike.
Okay.
Okay, so how do you vote? Belden? Renzo?
Yes.
Kavah?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
Askren?
There's, I'd like to refer 307 North Main to Beverly as well for nuisance. When we hang lawnmowers in our front yard in the trees.
Do
I'm
we
pretty
not
much
have that
done.
taken care of already?
I don't know, I don't care.
Is the code enforcement guy not going over there to clean that up?
He just started and he's got a list. I'm meeting with him tomorrow.
Okay.
This isn't a code enforcement thing.
No, I know, it's
This
a
is a county
complete
sanitarian
violation.
thing.
Yeah, it's
I mean, this is.
nasty.
Yeah,
So then, so you-
I'm not.
I think that's it.
Jim, is that 307,
Who, what?
Brian Fitch's house where the
Yes.
lawnmowers are hanging from the
Okay.
tree?
Yes.
Well, I'd like to refer that to Beverly, would be my motion.
Okay,
That's a no joke.
it'll be fine. So moved by Belden, do a second,
Second,
second by Glass. How do you vote? Belden? Renzo?
yes.
Kavah?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
Askren?
Yeah.
That all on 14 then?
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, Beggars Night, the chamber come up with October 30th to 7 uptown, and 6 to 8 residential.
So moved.
Second.
Don't need a motion.
Oh,
Okay.
I'll do it. Sean's here.
6. Sean, you wanna come up and talk now?
Yeah, I don't have any of my paperwork, sorry about that.
Hey, Dick. Currently Mike is on the phone and wants to talk to me about the form. The racetrack guy.
Okay.
Handled that contract after the police contract. Took out the things that would be specific to them and kind of molded it into something specifically for the rescue. And so right now we have 2 or 3 people that really were kind of pointing that at to go through EMT. They live in town here. They really could benefit the department. And there was a clause in there for way for us to get reimbursed or repaid, whether they become EMTs or not. So
The only question I had regarding that is it doesn't say in there, what happens if they don't pass their test?
if they don't pass their test, then they would stay on as drivers, which is like the non-clinical. So there was like the non-clinical
Right.
repayment. And then if they don't stay on at all or fulfill those requirements, then it goes back to just the overall value, the dollar amount that then we could collect
I'm
on.
gonna tell you what happened last time we did this. We paid for it. 1 or 2 passed, 5 or 6 didn't. And how much did we pay? 10 grand, 12 grand? And folks stayed, a couple folks didn't, and it was just, so we were out that money.
But I don't think we had an agreement, correct, at that time?
How do you enforce that?
So a few months ago, I had this conversation with Sean, and the previous people, the tuition wasn't brought out of his budget. The tuition was brought out of a different fund. And so, great about the agreement at that time, but then when it did come to it, the city actually coming out of his budget or city paying, he would draw up an agreement
Mhm.
to make sure,
So,
just
I
like
mean,
we do
that's
with.
By all
the
rights, an
police.
enforceable agreement. So
But it's, I
It's
mean,
just
what's
like
the
the cops.
recourse? Yeah, I don't know about that. So at the end of the day, if a police officer goes to the academy, they walk, they don't pay us, we can decertify them, correct?
Yes.
We don't have that ability to take an EMT's certification, right?
correct. You
So,
do not have it.
so the contract, I hope we didn't pay a lot for it. Did we pay a lot for the contract? We have a draft contract.
No,
So
he
they-
used the police.
Oh,
money,
okay.
said.
Yeah.
So that was gonna be, using that, I mean,
Just saying.
do we need to find out if it's enforceable, or, I mean, is that gonna make a difference, or what?
The only point that I want to make is, if to enforce this, it's gonna cost you more on the road.
That's a good point.
You know, so kinda, you're doing it just to get some simple mutual agreement between the department and the guy
Are you sure?
to don't leave us. It's just.
I mean, yeah, we really only have.
And how many people are you looking at?
So there's 5 in class right now.
So that's 5 times how many, or how much is
Well,
it?
we're only 3 we
950.
need coming in.
So you're looking at 5 grand.
The only
No.
change I would ask is at the bottom of page 1, that we take out city finance officer and put in city administrator.
So,
It's just wording.
so why wouldn't it be 5 grand? It's 900 per person.
It's 950 times 3, which is.
Oh, I think you said 5.
No,
You said
Nine- $950 a
Okay.
person.
Three.
times 3, yeah.
Okay.
There's 5 in the class, but we're not paying for all 5.
So if we can't enforce anything
That's what I mean.
with this, what's the?
Well, it's an
That's why
incentive.
But you can't,
Yeah.
you can if you want to spend the money,
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but you're
So-
spending 10,000 to get 2,000.
but you at least have it to then hold them accountable and then,
Yeah, it's
Hopefully you don't
after
get
the
to the
class, the
point that you
benefit
have
to
to.
the department.
If they stay,
Correct,
and if
yeah.
they pass.
So, which is why the clincher is in there for if they
And
don't pass.
And all I'm getting at is because we got burnt with several $1,000s in years past, that's what I'm
I
like.
understand, yeah.
And I don't mean it negative, I'm just saying, we tried this with, was it Ron? Or, yeah, I can't remember.
can you explain to me how they pay it back? I mean, I kind of read through this, but
It's the time they spend on the department. So when they're on the department and can run calls and generate revenue with the department. And then they also start out at a base pay.
you have in here,
So-
they'll work 6 24-hour shifts per quarter,
Correct,
which is 24 a year.
Are these local people?
yes, yep.
And
they're all-
then so then they don't get paid as much, or they don't get paid for those shifts? Is that how that works?
They do get paid, yep.
It's just, so they're really not, we're really just paying for them to work, I mean, to get the certification. So they're not really paying us back, just ensuring that your schedule is full, is that how?
Correct, yeah.
They're putting in time to
They're
make sure
basically
that
doing
this
that in
is
lieu of.
to make up.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I understood.
Yeah, to make sure. More money.
The department used to be about 80% volunteer and 20% paid, and it's like, what, 90% paid and 10% volunteer now?
Mostly, yeah.
So I mean, it's tough to,
And that's across the board, the whole.
I totally
industry,
understand, I'm just saying it's like, if we had a bunch of volunteers at that point to pay for their EMT would make sense, is all I'm getting at.
And so, well, that's actually what these people are, is that they're the volunteers working for like the per call and per day basis. And so then moving up to an EMT would then be an hourly thing, so they can come, a little more financially have a clinician, because, they're all helpful, but if they don't have a clinical, certification, their just hands are tied,
So why
so.
can't we reimburse them? They pay it, we reimburse them. I mean,
Because
is this,
not everybody can afford it.
And that is part of it, yeah, so.
I mean, that's.
but if
that's
they're already in
very-
the class, they already had to pay for it.
What?
They're already in the class, so they already had to pay for it?
No,
Okay, I'm so lost. So, three, now we got 5 people.
We have 5 people in the class, the city's looking, or I would like the city to pay for 3 of them, but yes, we've already started class.
And so then so how, they can pay for the class?
he will pay for the class.
What you're really looking at is if they took out a loan for the class, they paid it.
Right.
They served out the thing as long as they were on the rescue, then we paid back over a course.
You see forgivable loans with certain types of jobs.
Mhm.
You go in and you work your hours, we'll pay on your student loans, and we'll forgive a certain percentage.
Like
That's
tuition
what-
reimbursement.
Yeah.
Like a tuition reimbursement.
No. Okay, go ahead, Josh.
Just one idea, just kind of brainstorm out, I don't know if you guys thought of this, but, I know 2 of the 3 already drive for you, correct?
Yeah, well, all 5 of them do.
Okay, so those 3 that we're paying for, why can't you hold some of their money back? And once they've performed, up into the class amount, and then once they've been on so long, that's kind of like a sign-on bonus. Just a thought. I don't
Up
know
to
if it's
50% or something.
I don't even know if it's,
Are you paying, are you paying
$2
them
bucks
that? Are you paying
call
them
or $2 an hour or something like
Oh.
that,
No, they get $40 for a 24-hour shift, and then $40 for a call.
So these 3 people are all volunteers,
Yes.
and how long have you been volunteering?
Anywhere between 4 months and over a year.
So is there a requirement you have to be a volunteer for a year before you can, I mean, I'm just
You
saying,
can do it any way you want.
Right.
Okay.
but somebody who's been volunteering for 4 months versus a year is
Well,
different.
I think if I'm thinking who,
Yeah,
the 4-month person, she just got on recently, correct?
Yeah,
So she's taking shifts. I mean, I think all of these people are currently taking shifts and doing the EMT class.
correct, yeah.
And she just got on. I mean, it's not, and so is she RN exempt? And
No.
she's taking the EMT class to become the RN, or to make sure she's RN.
She could be, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
she's a nurse, and
that's the
she,
process.
yeah, but there's another one that she lives just like half a mile from the station, so, she just likes helping out, and so then she hasn't been on just as very long either, but.
But they're all dependable. I mean,
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying the police, what is it, 5 years? And so what is the structure we're gonna put behind this versus, hey, here you go? Because we already got burnt with that approach.
well, I think the structure is they're gonna be required
We already-
24 hours, 24 shifts in a year.
But we already know that's not enforceable.
That didn't happen.
So,
That's tough.
yeah. And give me all the paper,
Well, what do you think of the idea of if they stayed for a year, you can reimburse them that money that you already paid? Because you're already in the class, so they already paid them.
And
They have
And
not
if-
paid the money.
if we could loan them the money,
we're not a
There could
student,
be a
we're not a
stimulus.
student lender, though, right? I mean,
But some of these people can't afford to go through the class.
we don't have recourse and we've been burnt before.
We
I'm just being
Do it,
honest.
so if we choose.
And I understand, Brian.
I'm just saying, you're
It's
saying
like,
we
you
have
know,
no recourse. We do have recourse.
Kids that go to college, they don't generally have $40,000 sitting around, so they go get loans, right? You know, they don't get people paying them back for that. Some probably do. So I think, you know, what we're talking about is if they got a loan to begin with, then maybe that makes them a little bit more serious about sticking around, knowing that, hey, now I'm on the hook for $950. I'm gonna take this class. If I stick around, that's gonna be given back to me.
Why can't,
How do you know they're gonna be approved? What if they can't get approved? for a
here's a
loan?
question for you, just a
Then-
question, just a thought. When they do this volunteerism, why can't you pay them a better rate that goes against their EMT bill? Does that make sense? Pay them $2 a call, pay them $50 a call. It's still gonna be cheaper. Their 12-hour coverage, right, is still cheaper than something else. You're still gonna be dollars ahead doing it that way, and you won't risk them leaving. And if they do leave, you already saved the money anyway, because you didn't have to hire somebody because they volunteered for that driving time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's
Then there's no.
sort of how that works in a lot less.
I mean, they're still
Like,
working, like these shifts, these people are still working while doing the EMT. They're still on your schedule while
Yeah.
going through EMT class.
I mean, all of them, yeah, still pick up shifts
Jim,
week, monthly.
Jim?
I just want to throw something out there. I've been volunteering for 38 years, but I'm not gonna borrow money to volunteer for you. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion.
You know, and like if you go to be an electrician or a plumber, like, you know, they put them through school while they're working. You
So
know,
why
they
don't
don't
we do it?
require them to get $40,000 to go.
And
to
we don't
law school.
require our police
It's not,
to pay their tuition upfront.
right, because we can decertify them in the event that we, there's a bigger difference.
There's also a lot more money. I mean, when you're talking about, and I get that you guys have been burdened if you get a dozen people.
I'm trying
you
to
know,
find a solution. I'm not totally for it. I don't like what happened in the past. And unless we put something else in place, it'll happen again. So is there a way to match? They already had signed up for this class and they must have already planned on the expense. If we matched it 50-50 and they volunteered for an hour, then we give them the other 50 after a year? I mean, I don't know. So instead of paying all of it, we match it 50-50 on cost.
And it's,
So every dollar they pay.
Can you maybe figure out a way that while they're in, like for the next year, a pay structure that's a little over than, so like he said, instead of $40 a call, they get $50 a call, and then, but they're not gonna get that $10, or they're gonna get 30 of the 50. And maybe try to work something out
Figure out
that way.
something. We're not the one getting bent over on the risk side completely with no recourse.
Or we can just see, we can have these 3 people sign it, see what happens, and go
Why don't we
and
let
see what
John
happens from
and
there.
Figure it out.
And take the chance on these
Let John
3.
Figure it out.
Say it again.
What was that, Nick?
Why don't we let Showman and Ash figure it out?
Perfect. So,
And that's fine too.
you guys come back with a recommendation in October.
okay,
Is that fair? Something with some recourse is what, yeah.
okay,
Good, John?
okay.
But if we do go with this tuition agreement, can we please get that changed, city finance officer to city administrator?
That
Okay.
all?
Yeah, I can fix it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you, Sean.
Sean.
Okay, public forum. Mike, from the racetrack, are you on?
Maybe he's not.
Oh, I thought you said you.
Well, I got a message that he was on, but I don't. If he's not there, he's not there.
Alicia?
I got something. I just wanted to come to the council today. Alicia got it, okay. I wanted to come to the council today. I have been in talks with Dave Reha and also reached out with Jim about the WCB after prom hosting a glow run in October. I just kind of wanted to get the council's blessing on that, if that's okay. We are looking at Saturday, October 23rd. It's going to be an evening run. Obviously, it's a glow run, kind of Halloween themed, but we're trying to raise some funds for after prom this year. The box of things that, standing at 4 corners, selling wreaths, we want to get the community moving in it. We have picked a route that is primarily off of all main roads. We aren't crossing any White Pole Road, no divisions. We're going to be going up Harlan, which while it has houses on it, we have talked about sending out just a community letter as a notice to them that, from this time to this time, we're going to have the road closed, blocked off, and that we'd move those barricades as soon as our last runners go. Just kind of wanted to get the council's blessing on going forward with that.
Sounds good.
I'm okay with
Yeah,
it.
okay, okay.
All
I
right.
can't make motions, but we'll dig it.
Okay,
Thanks,
perfect.
lady.
Thanks.
Okay. Oh, you got something? Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
So I got a couple calls on the participation for, the fire trucks in the homecoming parade. And you can sigh if you want, I'm gonna bring it up, it can be a peace discussion.
Yeah. No arguing.
So,
I'm not gonna say anything.
so we were involved a couple of years ago, and we had people in the trucks, and this year we didn't, other communities did. And it's the same thing for like, Good Egg Days, Rescue Unit, and police. Is that anything that we want to have like a consistent treatment of or not? Or have a discussion of?
Can we clarify which, so there was 4 towns,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah.
And they only rode on 2 of the 4, correct?
Put on
They
3.
did not ride on Menlo's fire trucks.
Nope, we don't allow it.
Okay,
Menlo
I don't
did
know.
not-
I just saw pictures. It looked
Menlo
like
did
3
not
trucks. I don't
allow for
know.
the same reasons that I think our fire board, but I think, I mean, that's why Josh is here, he can address your
So,
concerns.
so from an insurance perspective, this is not an insurance issue, just so we're on the same page.
So, can I come up there?
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Front and center, Josh.
I knew it was coming up, so. All right, so first off, you are correct. There is nothing that we cannot do it, but according to Lauren, which sent this email, your recommendation for school children riding on the vehicle or the fire vehicle is a responsible and obvious decision. Yes, this may have been done in the past. Nothing says they can't from an insurance standpoint. But let me ask you this, would you allow your guys to go into a burning building without proper training, turnout gear, respirators, etc.? Simple answer, he says, is safety. So if a child or student was to be injured while riding a city-owned vehicle, the city would be responsible.
Yep.
So there's that. And then also from Steve Brick, it says the risk and liabilities exposed to the city is and are obvious and not up to any reasonable debate, in my opinion. I support the decision to not continue this practice. So these were all for riding on the outside of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Never once was asked for kids to ride inside the vehicle. I would have been all over it.
Okay.
Been a long time supporter of athletics here, the school, went to school here, worked still at the school, not for the school anymore, but couple other things. Our department held our board meeting Tuesday, whatever that was. The board decided that is not a good idea at that time. I also brought it up within our regular business meeting, and in both meetings, no one said anything about doing it. So everyone was still in favor of us not doing it. Just one thing to point out, OSHA 1910.28, anything above 6 feet, you're supposed to have handrails and or a harness for fall protection. And that's kind of one of the reasons the council, past fire chiefs have started to they designed the station for the ground fills. We just designed some of the trucks for limited access on top of it, just for that simple reason. What else do I have? Also, one of the big things there is our department, as you guys know, is all volunteer. I find it hard, a lot of guys can take off time for an emergency, but for parades and stuff like that, it's very hard to ask somebody to lose out on pay. I mean, for me, example, I don't have any time off for 90 days, so I'm not going to take anything like that. I did ask about a waiver for this possibility. Lauren says it's very complex, and Steve told me that it doesn't matter. They're gonna find loopholes.
Yeah. Still
So,
liability.
if our trucks were 2-3 foot off the ground, it'd be probably a little different scenario. You have a kid fall from 2 feet, 3 feet, probably not gonna get hurt unless they get ran over. But The one truck I measured today was 9'2". You fall from a moving vehicle at that distance, you're going to get hurt. So, like I said, trained firefighters are even allowed on top of there, or at least for limited access. So, let alone high school age boys horsing around.
Who's liable
I-
if somebody gets hurt? All parties,
The
all
city.
parties.
Well, Steve told me the city would be liable. So what happens at the school if someone falls is the school's problem. It's not our problem. What's the problem here is, myself, Dick, the council, or the city can all be sued if somebody falls off there.
You personally.
I don't have a lot, but I like what I have, so I like to keep that. So to answer your question, that's kind of why it was the way it was.
Just so you're aware of that, though.
Okay.
When you're operating,
Well, what's that?
you're operating as an employee of the city in that case, though, so you'd be covered under the city.
I know, there have been numerous cases though. You guys may not be aware of it, but the fire chief was sued personally as well, so.
Fire chiefs, they can be sued for punitive damages. They can be gone up.
So that's a lot of risk on my back that a lot of people don't realize. And I just, personally, I didn't feel it was right. The previous chiefs that have allowed this have not gone through department as I did. So they just kind of went out and said, hey, we're doing it. Tough luck. So if you're
So
waiting.
why did Dexter and Redfield participate that way? Just put that.
That's their own
risk on
choosing.
Yeah.
So
So I guess what I'm getting at is the other departments, just so.
I got one more thing.
That's fine. I'm just saying from a consistency perspective, though, for fire, EMS, and police for all events, if the policy is in the vehicle, then maybe that's the consistency.
Personally think that Josh's decision here is extremely prudent. They don't have any business on that equipment. Kids don't. And I think if you want to codify something, what needs to be codified is, this is the
In the
policy that we
in the
should have in the future.
Can I,
What? Just hold on. I do cover that. So, and the other thing is, even riding in the back of the police truck. So I think if you do something along these lines, it needs to be a general, all around, all city equipment.
That's what I'm getting at.
Anything, you must be restrained and inside the vehicle because you're not gonna ask to sit on top of an ambulance or in the back of a
No,
cop
but
car,
You hit on the head, though. We've got police trucks.
Yeah.
So if they're gonna be in the parade, are we gonna have the same treatment? Well, I'm just saying.
Well, and I don't know.
And
if
that's
you
fine
wanna
if
add-
it is, but we shouldn't have 10 different discussions about it. It should be consistent.
I mean, I've received a lot of backlash over this whole thing. Saturday, I was sitting at a Pee Wee football game and someone came up and asked me questions. I got broad shoulders, I can take it, no big deal, but it'd be nice if the city could put something in writing, like what you're stating. And maybe, I don't know, as if you include.
So that's not a person.
That way, it's not all coming back on me, I'm just a messenger, the city council has.
Then it's not a person making a decision that's
Yep.
consistent.
Okay, Jim, did you have a comment?
I just had one thing to throw in there with Josh. There are rules and regulations that we have to follow. We aren't even, as firefighters covered by the city's insurance, allowed to ride on the exterior of a fire truck. Why would we allow anyone else?
I'd like to add one more thing. The last time they rode on it, did they damage?
So 5 years ago, they rode on our Unit 2, which is our 2013 Spartan pumper that you guys bought us. The tarp, granted, it has had some wear and damage from a fire and stuff like that. But after those kids rode on that truck, it was severely worse. And we just had to replace that tarp. I thought Jim told me maybe with everything said and done, fuel up there, labor to put it on, the tarp itself was around $2,800. I thought it was like $1,200 for the tarp itself. So there, I mean, it's not worth $1,000 for 15 minutes in my opinion either. So.
All right, I guess.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
Thank you for clearing that
So
up.
I guess just something to consider it.
Make a motion?
No, you can't.
there's no vote. Well, this is just a
Oh,
discussion
sorry.
that
Sorry.
it needs to come to the council, so there's some sort of consistency across the departments. So we don't have,
Can you create a
Volunteers.
policy,
So there's
so
not
that way
volunteers
we
taking-
have a policy
Um,
for all free?
if you have good egg days, it's on Saturday. You have more people to help volunteer. word
This
bed,
already
because
exists, that you can't do that.
people in the back of the trucks, does that change them?
So-
Go against it now.
One thing there, for kids to, or adults to ride on there, I would like for it to be somewhat secure. So if you take the ladder truck, for example, the handrails are 36 inches, I believe, 38 inches, something like that, maybe 42. They are to OSHA standards when that truck was built. So you are safe within that. And also our grass rigs, the manwells, because the firemen, we do ride in the manwells on grass fires and stuff like that. That's how that truck was designed. So those would be the only. And then if the antique was out and about, no restraints on that. So.
Anyway, just,
Yeah, we just.
and it doesn't even need to be something in writing or in the
No, nothing
code,
in
just
writing,
something that
saying-
comes to City Hall and here's how we do it.
And we always direct it to the department head. You see anything related to the police, we say, let the chief look at it. Anything related to the public work, we say, let Jim look at it. So our existing policy state what we just tried to explain, and what the clarification came from the lawyers. We just need, when we deal with these issues next time, to kind of take it easy and just have the department heads communicate with the public or the school owner.
But if Dave allows thing in the back of the truck, it's different than the
Yeah,
fire department.
I understand.
It's not,
But I doubt
Doesn't
they
work.
will allow.
okay, I'm just,
Yes, I see your point, I'm just trying to get it on the
Yeah.
soft side.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was, people saw kids up there and they expected the same thing,
And,
and-
I mean, it's real easy to come and try to shoot the messenger, when, I'm the one that told the school, no, we're not gonna do it. Well, I was the point of contact. It's real easy, to come to me and complain, but, I'm not 100% sure, and don't quote me, and if it's not there, maybe it's something we add, but within our SOGs, I believe there is something about riding vehicles.
Well, NFPA has, it's not, if it's 5 miles, it can be moving 5 miles an hour,
Yeah.
for us to be riding on it, so.
Out of curiosity, did this come to your fire board also in Menlo? So
No.
that you guys weren't even approached,
No, we,
or you just shut it down?
at our last meeting, we said, hey, they want the truck over there for the parade, and then we made mention, no kids on trucks.
So can we authorize something to be put in the paper that,
I just don't want,
in the newspaper, so that it's clear that it is?
I just don't think it should have to fall on the police chief and the fire chief. Ash should be able to tell them, the council said that the departments are okay in the cab, not out of the cab. And we leave it at that, and that's what he could tell them. So it doesn't have to, that's it.
So if it ever comes up again.
You don't have
this is
5 different
different.
people
They
making
can,
5
they can
different.
bring it to us instead of
Yes.
going to
Yes.
Josh or
And
Dave.
that's what we always say.
So, one other thing along
Put it
with
in the
that,
paper.
when my dad was chief, the fire truck actually kind of got pulled over, and they stated that they were gonna give the driver a ticket for every child not properly restrained on that vehicle. And I believe that was one of the last years in Menlo, around that time. Randy Marchant was still alive, so that has been threatened, never happened, but, I don't want to pay
Right.
$184 seatbelt tickets either, or whatever they may be, so.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a few things. Anybody else got anything? No. You need to get hold of Forrest and find out when we're gonna have a meeting with people living on Northeast Second for the sidewalk. We're supposed to have communication fall yet, because they're gonna be impacted with their properties and.
That's a safe route.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great issue.
But he said he was gonna.
Got a wheelbarrow?
He said he was gonna do it in September, and it's getting into September, so
I don't know if you were here, we had a committee meeting.
I don't think he was.
And I had to leave early, but we had talked about gathering a meeting for those people on that route to come here and discuss
I think you were at that meeting, Matt.
what was gonna
Yeah,
happen.
Yes,
there was
yeah,
a meeting,
yeah.
but,
I would-
Forrest has been on vacation and then he's been
Yeah,
busy with
okay.
some issues.
just so, I mean, it won't be till next spring, but at least we can get the people involved, because it's gonna impact their properties, their ground, their driveways. Yes, good.
I do believe in talking to Forrest, they wouldn't mind doing some of the dirt work
This
this
year.
fall so that it has time to settle over the winter.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of the impression I got from talking to Forrest after the fact.
So we need to get it set up pretty fast.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That work was meant to.
And then can somebody personally call Steve Brick? I talked to him a while back. We need, clarification on the right of way from trees. He said, yes, the city's responsible, but I said, I need that in writing
I mean, no.
from the
Not on that,
sidewalk
but I
to the
can-
curb.
I can
He said,
shoot
we're
an email
responsible.
for it, Cause he's
Yes.
also supposed to be working on our ATV ordinance.
Okay, let's include that within the,
Yeah,
we
because if
talked
there's
to twice and it's not responding.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, my question along with that is, yes, we're liable for them, but at what stage?
Well, the
That's
other
what I
day,
want clarification on, is what stage? I mean, do we continue the policy that we have, that they have no vegetation? Or when it starts showing 2 or 3 dead limbs, do we take the tree down? I want some clarification, because you're looking at a very, very, very large financial impact.
yeah, I know.
So the ordinance as it says it's diseased or dead, and it doesn't give you, if it
Correct.
can be diseased with leaves still on it. you
Steve's
know?
supposed to be
Correct.
working on this. and get back
I
on
want
this.
just clarification.
I would agree with you on
I
that.
will
It's-
work with
Also,
Steve.
is there a setback? Like, what if they don't have a sidewalk? Is it?
Yes,
Well,
there's a setback, there's a fixed right of way.
Try, what's his name?
Mitch.
Mitch Kearns, is this something we should try him with?
For-
Less expensive?
You already got that issue, so I think.
So if he doesn't have, if he doesn't have any progress on it, then flip it to
We'll
this
find
guy.
out tomorrow.
Less
I'll
expensive
work with
per hour.
Christina and we'll see.
Yeah,
Uh,
'cause I need to check, he has the language for our UTV, ATV modifications, Steve
Oh.
does.
Steve has the
He's got,
UT and.
because remember we were going to
Yeah, he
be,
got those two.
we made a motion to send it to him to add golf carts and we needed to update
When
some
was that?
definitions. It was a couple months ago, but he's been busy.
No,
We've been
I,
busy with this road stuff,
oh,
so.
absolutely. But I'm just saying those types of things can be sent to this Mitch Kearns is less per hour. I'm just asking. If you don't want to, that's fine.
That's why I really give it to him, so,
Okay.
okay.
And I'm sure
Mitch
if that's
Kearns-
the route we take, I'm
So-
sure he would not mind.
Mitch
because he has
Kearns is a
lot
local
going on.
He's
kid.
busy, I'm gonna
Oh,
kill
okay.
Yeah.
Local kid that went through law school and Becky and Darcy's son's kid,
Who's possibly moving back to our community.
possibly moving back to our community, a law student. This would be some new stuff to start. Maybe he could be the city attorney at some point. I don't know, but at least less per hour.
Sure.
Okay.
What's his name?
Mitch Kearns. Is that right?
I believe
Yeah,
so.
Mitch Kearns, okay. So,
And for your information, unofficial, our town grew by 134 people, which I think that doesn't include the second edition. I think the census is done before a lot of people had moved in.
the only town in Guthrie and Adair that had
Yes,
the game.
well, you look at the census in most small towns our size, population, Adair and Guthrie both lost in population, the county. Let's see. Anything else? Mike is not on the phone then?
No, he said, yeah. Contact Matt
Okay.
tomorrow and take it from there.
Anybody else have anything?
Thanks, Mick.